Welcome to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, I'm Baruch, host of Paradigms. Thanks for listening. My guest on this episode of Paradigms has just written a book. They spent a year exploring a spiritual path. There are many traditions that have this practice of choosing something for a year and a day. The idea being that you immerse yourself in learning something for a full cycle around the sun. Human beings have been exploring our own existence forever. What are we? Why are we here? Is there such a thing as spirit or soul, or all those questions that inform spirituality and religion? And there are so many different points of view. Each person has the potential for a unique personal experience or relationship with existence, what some people might call the divine or deity. So we're going to talk with her about her journey of this 1 year exploring a spiritual path and about her book. So let's meet my guests right now on this episode of Paradigms. Diana Helmuth, welcome to Paradigms.
So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled. You've just written a really interesting new book, which I've read, I have to admit, not every bit of, but most of. And I enjoyed it. And it's a book about part of your personal spiritual journey.
Yes. So it is a memoir, kind of a diary, really, of me attempting to turn myself into a witch for a year. Not a Harry Potter witch. You know, I'm not going to Nevermore Academy. There's a lot of shows and books and franchises out there of usually children who get roped into going to some kind of magical academy, and that's very fun. And we read those, but that's not what real life looks like, right?
No.
So this is a journey of me actually trying to turn myself into a real life witch. Yeah.
Well, the book is The Witching Year, a memoir of Earnest, Fumbling through Modern Witchcraft. And I love that subtitle.
Thank you. We agonized over it.
Well, it's really great. So I started reading it, and I have my own history with witchcraft. And you actually were connecting in this book with a tradition that I'm part of, which is random that we ended up doing this interview, even though that is the case. Or maybe it's not random.
Probably the second.
Yeah. Well, what I loved is you start out with basically, what is this? I have questions. Is this a real thing? Not like skeptical, but like a critical thinker.
Yeah. Well, that was, I mean, I was skeptical. I say that pretty openly. And, you know, with some asterisks, I don't necessarily leave the year, rather without giving away spoilers, I don't necessarily leave the year a total perfect convert. I don't leave the year without any doubt left in my heart, but I think that is a more realistic presentation of a journey. Well, I guess I can't speak for everyone's journey, but I was a skeptic going into it because, to go on a bit of a tangent here, I grew up in Northern California, and if you know Northern California at all, you know it's kind of woo-woo. It's very crunchy. You know, there are a lot of hippie movement neo-pagans and witches who got their starts here. Starhawk is one, Oberon Zell Ravenheart, Caradwyn Falling Star. I mean, there's like tons of people. So I grew up with Wicca being around. I knew what it was by the time I was a teenager. I had friends in high school who were self-professed Wiccans. They weren't really worried about getting attacked by the people around them. That was not the case with witches in other parts of the country. But I also grew up in an area that, and I think this is true for a lot of people of the millennial and the Gen X generation, and possibly even earlier and possibly now, there was this unspoken code that if you were smart, you were an atheist. And if you were religious, it meant you were stupid. I'm being very glib on purpose, but that was kind of there was this hidden philosophy floating around in the air. And I didn't want to be stupid. I wanted to be smart. And I wanted people to think I was smart. So I subscribed to that agenda, which is if you are a smart person, you are skeptical of all things spiritual and religious, and atheists are the smartest among us, and smart people scoff at church and religion is the opiate of the masses, and it's very, very bad. And I grew up with that. And so even though I'd been in contact with Wicca and witchcraft most of my life, I had that in competition in my head, that philosophy in my head. So when it came time to I felt a call for a spiritual journey, and it was like, well, but I don't really want to because I don't want to be stupid, and that's a central tension that is worked through in the book. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a really powerful issue.
Yeah, I think it resonates with a lot of people. I hope it does, but I think a lot of people have felt that.
Well, I was brought up in New England by agnostic intellectuals. My father was an immigrant. His family was lost, mostly killed in the Holocaust, and his immediate family had left Eastern Europe before that happened. My mother was from a Jewish family that had immigrated earlier in the 20th century. And my parents were both agnostic. And so their answer to questions about spirituality and religion was, we don't know, you have to decide for yourself, which I thought was great. But I think you're right that there is and has been this sort of snobbery about religion. And I will fully admit to having some of that.
It's a great word. Yeah.
And I just, as many people do, make a distinction between religion, which I think of as institutional, and spirituality, which I think of as personal, direct experience.
Yes. There's actually a beautiful quote. I'm going to butcher it slightly, but Thorn Mooney writes about this and talks about this a lot on her TikTok. A lot of witches will get a bit prickly if you say witchcraft is a religion. In her opinion is that the prickliness is almost, well, my opinion is the prickliness is occasionally funny because I think it's a reaction to this idea that you are participating in the opium of the masses. But she says religion is a political term. Whether or not something is a religion or a spirituality it's actually quite subjective. I think we all have an idea that religion is organized and top down and more community oriented, and spirituality is very self-directed, very personal. It comes from a very internal authority source. But in witchcraft, those two worlds collide a lot the minute you walk into a coven. It's like, oh, okay, well, what am I doing now? Am I part of it? No, religion's a bad word. I'm not in a religion. I'm not religious. I'm smart. Anyway, it was fun to interrogate that for a year. Yeah.
I'm talking with Diana Helmuth about her new book, The Witching Year, a memoir of Earnest Fumbling through modern witchcraft. We had a great conversation. Really enjoyed talking with Diana. The book is well worth reading, whether you're interested in witchcraft or not. It's a person sharing their journey of learning, of questioning, and of discovery. We'll be back with more conversation with Diana Helmuth after we hear a little music. This is Lindy Leela, We All Come From the Goddess. You're listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.
We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain, flow into the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain, flow into the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flow into the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flow into the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flow into the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowed into the ocean.
That's Lindy Leela, We All Come from the Goddess. And now we're going to get back to my conversation with Diana Helmuth, talking about her new book, The Witching Year, a memoir of earnest fumbling through modern witchcraft. Really, I have one core question, which is, what did you learn? What did you learn? And what does it mean to you? What did you discover for yourself about the nature of existence and your own reality?
I think one of the biggest things I learned was patience with my own self-doubt and the understanding that sometimes if I think something is a little stupid initially, maybe has more to do with my own internal judgment than anything about it being actually stupid. It's okay to not be totally sure for something to still be valid. I mean, if I stopped every time I doubted, I wouldn't have gotten through the year. I couldn't have, because I doubt to the bitter end. I doubt now. And rather than learning to shut that voice down or considering the shutting down of that voice to be a sign of some success or completion or finish line, I have just learned that that's going to be my constant companion. And maybe that's okay, because she's probably just trying to protect me, that little voice. But rather than have her run the whole board meeting, just have her sit in a chair and hear her out, but she's not the one in charge anymore. She's not the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the biggest thing I learned. And that's hard. And I don't know if that work is ever complete. I mean, I am a person who tends to doubt everything. I am indecisive. Sometimes I think it's a good thing to see both sides of everything, but sometimes you end up driving yourself a little batty with it. And what I've just learned is, I have to just be patient with that. She's never going away. Just be patient with her. I envy people who have that unshakable, unquestioning surety of purpose, and they just know. I really envy that, but I just don't think I'm ever going to get that. So I just let it go. I'm never going to be Starhawk. I've just let it go. Or maybe she does doubt and we don't know, but the image is that she does not, and I envy that.
Doubt and questioning seem like they're very close kin.
Mm-hmm.
Questioning is important. I think to stop questioning is a huge loss and mistake. And I think, when we see, people talk about true believers in orthodoxies, and
yeah,
I find that to be far more dangerous than the person who doubts and questions, because then there's no room for learning. There's no room for discovery. There's no room for, even correction. I mean, I think one of the things, you haven't said it this way, but I think you're alluding to is like, and I think it's very true in a lot of industrialized Western societies, making a mistake is really bad. You're not supposed to make any mistakes. And yet that's absurd. How else do we learn besides trying things and seeing what works and what doesn't? And so, doubt away. Yeah.
You actually touch on something that I've personally felt for a couple years now, and something I don't really love about our society. And you see it mostly reflected in politicians. When politicians change their mind, they're considered wishy-washy or flippant or non-committal. And I really hate that, because I wish we all could give each other a lot more grace around the fact that we are all allowed to take in new information and change our minds. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing.
Yes.
That should be a virtue. Why is that seen as a negative? It continues to drive me batty, actually.
My favorite politician, and I'm from Vermont, so my favorite politician is Bernie Sanders. And one of the things I respect about him is he is educable. I have seen him learn and change a position and own it, and I respect that.
I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely. I always feel the burn through most of 2016.
Man,
I'm a fan. I'm from California, but I'm a big Bernie fan, and so I agree with that.
So that's a powerful thing that you learned.
I hope so. I think so. Well, and also the realization that the doubt and the questioning, really what's behind that is judgment and self-judgment. And what's behind that is fear of being ostracized, the fear of not having anyone like you or having everyone think you're an idiot. And then what if I'm the person they send out to pasture with a bucket on my head and I've been ostracized from the village and we can't have that? And probably goes back to me just not being a very confident person, but this doesn't need to be a therapy session. We don't need to go that deep.
We'll be back with more conversation with Diana Helmuth about her new book, The Witching Year, discussing religion and what she learned, what she discovered about herself. Here's some more music. This is Steel Eye Span from their Wintersmith album. It's called The Good Witch.
They never said why she was wicked. That was just taken as read. She'd a face to fill you with fear. No teeth and a wart sprouting hair, along with a welcoming leer. But a good witch really likes people. Good witches really do care for even the mean, stupid, hapless ones, the thankless and foolish and silly ones, the hopeless mothers and little ones. The root and heart of witchcraft is so hard to control. It's everyday caring, loving and sharing. That's a witch's center and soul. And a good witch looks to the edges betwixt this world and the next. More edges than people can know, night and day, or the fast and the slow. Right and wrong don't always show. The root and heart of witchcraft is so hard to control. It's everyday caring, loving and sharing. That's a witch's center and soul.
A good witch never cackles. Cackling is not just nasty laughter. It means your mind drifting away from its anchor. It means loneliness and hard work driving you crazy, a little bit at a time. Until you thought it was normal to stop washing and wear a kettle on your head. It means thinking right and wrong are negotiable. In the end, it means going to the dark, a bad road. At the end of that road were poison spinning wheels and gingerbread cottages.
from their album Wintersmith, that's Steel Eye Span with The Good Witch. It's a great album, by the way, based on the Discworld universe. All right, let's get back to my conversation now with the author of the new book, The Witching Year, a memoir of earnest fumbling through modern witchcraft, Diana Helmuth. People are going to have different responses to that, and some people would say, well, no, that's not the point. But, speaking as my own spiritual authority, I find that my own explorations in life and my experiences, in a way, it's about learning the same things over and over again, because maybe I am an idiot and I have to keep learning about connection and healing and being less judgmental and all those things. But I also think as humans, if I look at the big picture of humanity, clearly we're still working on learning the same things over and over again. And so, okay, that's where we are, and that's where I am. Okay. I'm also really interested in sort of the difference between the external practice of whatever and the internal experience of whatever, and how they both support each other and are different. So I know that in your book, you describe having learned lots of, let's call it liturgy, ways of doing practice based on other people's writings and discoveries. And then, of course, my own thought is we take those and we make them our own. And then there's the what you experience inside. So I'm interested in what you have to say about those two things.
When I signed up to this project, I understood there was an overwhelming amount of witchcraft content out there. And of course, it's all subjective in terms of what is best or not. There's some popular voices that have risen and fallen. So I went with the bestsellers because it's a folk practice, and I couldn't think of a better metric to use other than this one just looked good. Like, no, let's do a little bit more methodology than that. What I wanted in a lot of these books is liturgy. Here is what you say, here is what you do, here is how this works. And occult book, witchcraft books are hilarious. I won't say occult books, I'll say witchcraft books specifically, because I think this is the difference between witchcraft and broader occult. Witchcraft books are like, here's exactly what you do. Here's steps 1, 2, and 3. Here's what you should say. Here's the order you should light the candles. Here's which knife you should use for this, and which, bowl of water you should use for this. And then a paragraph later, they're like, but, do whatever you want. I'm not a cop. It doesn't really matter. And you're like, what? What? Don't say that. I walked into it wanting to be told because I felt clueless. I wanted to surrender some power, which is, I think, I don't know. I think a lot of people come into it because they want to be a little bit educated. I'm not going to say led, but they want to be taught. They want to be students. And in these books is some beautiful liturgy. I mean, just everything Doreen Valiente wrote. She's such a poet. Oh my God, that woman's writing is so beautiful. And something else I learned, and Scott Cunningham too, and who was the other one? Cassandra Eason, who writes these little gift books about the craft, but man, she has some actual really beautiful writing in there. I would read them in my head and I'd go, okay, I can do that. And then I would sit down in front of this altar I had made in the dark with the candles going after meditating, and I would say this stuff out loud. And some of it would bring me to tears. It was so beautiful. So something I learned really rapidly, and I don't think this is true for everyone. It's one of these things that's like, if your brain works this way, I think, if you know, to read something and then to say it out loud, to hear yourself say something can be shockingly intense and profound and really, really hits different. Chanting works for me really hardcore. I'm not sure why, but I can go to a different universe if I chant long enough. But after a while, I think the idea is you're supposed to graduate from using this pre-written liturgy, this beautiful stuff, and then ascend to writing your own. And I'll be blunt, I never fully got there. I don't think anything I produced was ever more profound than anything I read in these books by people who'd been practicing way longer than me. So why not? If that answers your question a little bit better. Yeah. But I think having some of the stuff preloaded, it is helpful. Expecting all of this to come from within on day one, I think is just too... I think that's unrealistic, and I hope people wouldn't shy away from a little bit of pre-written liturgy, because I think it can be really beneficial to getting out of your thinking mind and into your spiritual mind.
Well, in any practice, whether it's witchcraft or being a physicist, first you have to learn the language.
Totally. That's a great comparison, actually. Yeah, in this context. Yeah.
And it is because witchcraft is physics.
Yeah. Well, depending on who you ask. I happen to agree that it is, but yeah, depending on who you ask.
You know, if you study physics, I mean, all this law of attraction stuff, it's physics. It's just how does the universe work? And we as humans have this pinhole view into the existence of the cosmos. And so, you know, we're puzzle solvers and tool makers. And so we want to figure it out. And so we put a lot of energy into figuring it out, whether it's religion or physics and science or, you know, mysticism of whatever kind. You know, it's all about trying to figure out what are we doing here and how do we make it work better? I mean, that's really what it's all about for everyone, whether it's, you know, the most devout Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or pagan or whatever. And in this way, while we often think of all of these things as disparate, we're all doing the same thing. All of us. We really are all gathered together on this planet doing the same thing. We just don't know it.
Right. Well, that was, I mean, to spring right off of that, that was one of the, I mean, I hope people are inspired to read the book, but something that happened to me near, I think around month 7 or 8, is I had a pretty profound realization around the interconnectedness of all beings, which is something that is said over and over. It's hardly a new thought. I think that's one of the trickiest things about a spiritual journey is, you know, one day you wake up and you're like, I get it. Guys, we're all connected. And everyone is like, yeah. Did you just figure that out? And I'm talking about people who are super spiritual and people who aren't, who've just heard the phrase before. And you're like, no. But like, I feel it now. Like, I get it. And people are just like, and you're like, you don't get it. But like, I need to,
Yes.
you know, it feels new. And you don't have anywhere to like put it. But that, speaking of things I learned, that was huge.
Well, it's cellular.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
this is a weird analogy, but both of my parents are dead. And when your parents die, you experience it on a cellular level. It's not just emotional. It's not just, I understand that they are gone. It is an experience, a sensate, physical experience that the world is different. That happens in other things too, not just the deaths of our parents or loved ones. And I think that it's like, you can't explain it.
I have tried. I've had that experience with some people in my life too, and it is hard to. I can't explain it. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
But I'll just agree with you. Yeah.
We'll be back with Diana Helmuth to talk some more about her new book, The Witching Year. Here's a song called Magic. This is Paradigms at paradigms.life.
Magic, magic, magic.
a song called Magic. The artist is Gypsy. And now let's get back to my conversation with Diana Helmuth, talking about her new book, The Witching Year. Just to give people teasers for the book, because it really is worth reading, whether people are interested in witchcraft or not, it's interesting from the point of view of here's a person sharing their process, and fairly intimately. I don't think you're pulling any punches. So that, as someone who finds humans fascinating, I find fascinating. Yeah. But I am curious to know if there is anything that stands out to you as an experience that really gave you something of healing or nourishment.
You know, there's a few things. Going back to what I said, in witchcraft, there's a lot of different traditions, right? But most of them feature a goddess or a goddess figure, whether or not you believe these are actually separate entities who are in another realm, or it's a metaphor for the earth. The goddess is a central theme. Goddesses are a central theme, right? So I had been resisting connecting with the goddess, I think because I was a little spooked about what would happen. You know, I didn't know if I was more worried if something didn't happen or if something did. So I resisted it for a long time. And then I think it took me until I start the year in like late July randomly. It just kind of worked out that way. And in January, I'm like, I really got to get this together. Okay, let's do a goddess meditation. Oh God, I don't want to do this, but okay, let's do it. And I pick on Timothy Roderick's suggestion and Scott Cunningham's suggestion. I pick a goddess, a face to connect with. And I'm flipping through all of them like they're ladies on a dating website. I'm just like, how do I feel about Brigade? How do I feel? How do I feel about Bast? How do I feel about, am I allowed to talk to this one or that one? And anyway, I end up settling on Isis, who is an ancient Egyptian goddess. And the reason I picked her, though, is because she kind of had this all-encompassing energy. I mean, people worshipped her from Great Britain to Sudan at one point. And so I thought, okay, she'll probably be cool with me. She doesn't seem super closed door. All right. So I set up this whole ritual around things Isis would like and how to connect with her. And I sit down and I start meditating on the meaning of her, which I'm not going to sit here and pretend I am an expert on the goddess Isis. I think there are people who are. I do not pretend to be one of them. Based on what I read, some things I really like about her is that she really embodies as above, so below. She represents the world. And to me, she really came to represent the interconnectedness of all beings. And I liked that she had a husband who she seemed to kind of like actually enjoy, as opposed to so many divine relationships, which really don't model good relationship behavior. Zeus is typing.
Yeah.
Like, they actually seemed to, to like each other, God forbid. So I don't know why, but I just thought that was, she wasn't a man-hating wife or a man-hating virgin. She was a relatively content wife who seemed to be continuously saving her semi-idiot husband, but he was pretty powerful in his own right. So whatever. And anyway, I am meditating on Isis, feeling kind of stupid, and I'm chanting and I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying. And then something happened. And it's not like I got a knock on the door and, someone flew in and told me I did it. I'm a witch now. It was much more internal. I don't want to give the book away too much, but something turned on in my brain and it was ecstatic. I mean, actually ecstatic. Like I felt like I was on a low dose of MDMA, a medium dose, ecstatic, truly ecstatic. And then the next day, apropos of nothing, or felt like nothing, I posted how much I weighed on Instagram, which, if you're a woman who grew up at the time I grew up when low-rise jeans were big and everyone I knew had an eating disorder growing up, we were still, I hope this is getting better for younger generations. And I think it is, but your beauty is still your value and beauty is thinness. And no matter what anybody says, this is the undercurrent of all of it. And if you're not thin, you don't have a lot of social currency and you're screwed, baby girl. And you carry that around as an adult and it's hard. And there's so many movements fighting it. I mean, this is such a thing for people, especially for women. It's not that I overnight totally stopped caring, but after years of trying to embrace body positivity, body neutrality, self-acceptance, I'm okay as I am, one night of meditation on the goddess Isis, and I wasn't even thinking about my body during this meditation, by the way, like pushed me through, I swear to God, 2 decades of self-acceptance and probably saved me thousands of dollars in therapy bills, just being really honest. And I am still self-conscious, but just not the way I used to be. Really not. And I think the reason why is because part of that ecstatic meditation was realizing that everything is connected. In my mind, the way that I parsed it out, and this is just what I did. I'm not saying this is what everybody would do. Everything is Isis. Isis is in me. Everything is Isis. Isis is in me. Everything is connected, and everything actually is, I don't want to say beautiful because that feels trite, but just pulsing with a life energy that actually is inherently beautiful. And I'm just part of that flow. How could you possibly be self-conscious about being a part of something so powerful and intense? It just didn't make sense anymore.
We'll be back with the final part of my conversation with Diana Helmuth, talking about her new book, The Witching Year, and what her next projects might look like. But here's a song by Rumors of the Big Wave, The Only Green World.
Black smoke in the Brazilian sky, the forest burns, the angels cry, things die. One by one, they leave this earth with each setting sun. We try to close our eyes, to paint the shadows with our daily lives. We could be dancing in the only green world that's turning around the sun. We could be dancing around and round until we all fall down dancing in the only green world. Black gold from underground, there's a blanket of death on a northern sound. Oil clings to an eagle wing, the otter swims here, the silence scream. They try to hold the line, they're crying out till the end of time. We could be dancing in the only green world that's turning around the sun. We could be dancing around and round until we all fall down dancing in the only green world. How can I help but fear for the ones to come? Will wonder why we left. If for future years to heal the wounds we've created here. We could be dancing in the only green world that's turning around the sun.
from the album Burning Times. That's Rumors of the Big Wave with The Only Green World. And now here's the final part of my conversation with Diana Helmuth. I recently interviewed a woman who I know who's a musician. She's got a new record she's working on. And she has just gone from being a dedicated lifelong witch to a born-again Christian. I really like this person a lot and have great regard for them. And I was sort of like, oh my goodness. And she was like, yeah, people are really shocked. I won't give away what's in the interview, but basically she said, she found what you just described, she found in a Christian church unexpectedly. And so I don't think the form is the point.
I would agree with that. I think it's when you connect, when you see the divinity in yourself and how it connects to the divinity of everything around you. And I mean, really see it, like really touch it. And it's hard to get down there. But once you're there, it's really hard to hate yourself. And I think tons of people find that through Christ. I mean, how could his whole thing is I love you no matter what, buddy. Like,
right.
No matter what, buddy. Yeah, it's right there. Sure. That tracks.
And so that's one of the things I like about the book is you're not saying everyone should do this. You're saying, no. I wanted to find out about this, and so I did, and here's what I got out of it, or here's some of what I got out of it. I am one of those people who has a really hard time with organized religion. And when people, if people say reclaiming is a religion, I will beg to differ. And there are times when people have said, oh, we need a reclaiming building. And I'm always like, absolutely not. No, then we're a church.
It's a forest, right? It's
exactly.
A forest.
The forest
reclaiming buildings of forest
is the temple. So, but that being said, and that's my stuff, ultimately, we as humans, all the creation stories talk about that we come from one. And that we start out from this place. There's a starting place, and then we differentiate. But all the creation myths ultimately come to that in one way or another. And so I have to go back to, it's not the form that matters. It's the experience. And I say this a lot. I say it on social media. I don't care what people believe. I care how they behave.
Yeah, that's well put. I think that's really well put. I had an interview with Oberon Zell Ravenheart in the book, who he's such a delightful character. He's such a fun human. Oh my God. He talks a lot about green religion, and he also talks a lot about how people are scared of religion, and he understands why, but he's like, it's gotten a bad name. This doesn't have to be this way. Religion is actually pretty powerful. He tells me, I don't think I'm spiritual. I actually think I'm very religious, because I think he was really in it for community building and the social function of religion versus the internal therapeutic work, which is a little bit more popular right now. He introduced me to this concept of green religion that really stuck in my brain, and I liked it a lot. I like this idea of green religion. It's not something that is particular to one denomination or even one religious sect. It's just religions that are focused really on this idea that we live on the earth and she needs to be involved in whatever religion we're doing, because we're all interconnected, and that includes people and also living beings. I mean, this is expressed in tons of other religions, right? Neo-paganism did not come up with that at all. They borrowed it, and they would own that. But I like the idea of green religion spreading across the world, because I think it's something a lot of people sense is needed, but they don't quite know how to connect with it. And I think just saying, it doesn't have to be one thing. You don't have to suddenly become a Buddhist. It's just this idea of, that was the thing I took away from the year, was I would really like to see green religion continue to spread over the world. And that's going to look different for different people, but there's a common thread there.
Absolutely. And after this summer, and what is really impossible to deny, climate change and biosphere change, I think there's a lot of folks that are looking for ways to relate with that, because if humanity is to survive itself, we have to change some of what we're doing. I don't think there's any question.
Right.
What to change and how to change. These are things people will have conversations and arguments about, and et cetera. But I don't think anyone would say, yes, let's just keep going the way we're going. It's fine. That there may be some people doing that, but I don't think they're either not in touch with the reality, or they're in touch with, their stock portfolio, and they think that that's more important.
which is also not being in touch with reality.
Yeah, really, really, really. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
I think they're not. I think they're not in touch with reality. And I know some people would look at me, this, oh, well, you tried to be a witch for a year. It's like, well, yeah, but you're not in touch with what's actually going on with the world. I think if everyone did follow a green version of religion, probably climate change would start to get resolved a lot faster. And I agree that is an extraordinarily pressing issue. One thing that happened during the years, I did develop a little bit of eco-anxiety. You spend a long time meditating on the idea of the earth and being a god and the interconnectedness of all things. And I was like, I couldn't even throw anything away. I was really getting stressed about climate change and how I couldn't do more as one person and what could I do and how can I be a better consumer. There are parts in the book where I spin out, a little bit in my own anxious mind, and I showed those parts. The eco-anxiety was when they had me cut, which I thought was, well, anyway, I turned in too many words. It was a bit we had to cut, but yeah, I think focusing on green religion and witchcraft might give you eco-anxiety, and to a point that's good. To another point, it's not good, but I think a little bit of fire under everyone's butt right now would do some good.
Anxiety is a form of fear, and so not all fear is bad. Like fear where there's no danger is neurotic. Fear where there's actual danger is intelligent.
That's very well put. That's correct. Yeah.
One of the things I love about the definition of witchcraft as it was given to me is that witchcraft or magic is the ability to change consciousness at will.
Yeah.
That's it. A spell is a prayer. It's just different words for describing human experiences that we've been having for as long as we've existed.
Yeah. There were a lot of different definitions of everything in the book, but that one, magic is essentially you bringing something about into the world through will, was the consistent theme, and that's spellcraft.
So you wrote this book. I hope people read it. We've talked about some of what's in it and explored some ideas. I have two questions. One is, what happens next with the book, and what are you doing? What are you working on?
The book comes out October 3rd, 2023. Pre-orders are live. There's an audiobook coming out. We're getting some pretty good reviews coming in. I'm very excited to be here to be able to talk about it. This is my second book. I wrote a book called How to Suffer Outside, A Beginner's Guide to Hiking and Backpacking, which did very well in its niche, won a National Outdoor Book Award. This book is going to be a little bit more widely distributed. It was with Simon & Schuster. So I'm nervous, but I'm excited to see where it lands and how people receive it. I love hearing what people think of something I've written, genuinely. Even if you didn't necessarily love it, but if it made you think and you had a reaction, I really would actually like to hear from you, like so much, so we can make each other feel not alone. But what's next for me? I have a few other book ideas in the works. Nothing is super solid, so I won't mention it here, but I really want to keep writing as long as the world will let me. Most writers I know also have a day job. That's pretty normal.
Oh, yeah.
The other themes I'm thinking about are loneliness and hunting in relation to factory farms and food politics. We'll see if any of those turn into books, but I should know more next year.
Diana, thank you so much for talking with me, for putting the book out there. It's really been a pleasure, and I hope we run into each other again.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for having me. This is a real honor.
Diana Helmuth, it was really great talking with you. Completely enjoyed our conversation. Enjoyed your book very much. The Witching Year, a memoir of Earnest fumbling through modern witchcraft. I appreciate so much your open mind, your skeptical, questioning mind, and your sense of humor. I love it when we're capable of learning and we don't have to become dogmatic or doctrinal about what we learn. When we learn, we add to who we are in a world that seems to be increasingly polarized based on belief systems. Exploring a belief system that says, "And it harm none, do as you will," a belief system that values nature and justice, seems like great stuff to learn about. I hope folks will read your book. I think it is a wonderful example of one human choosing to learn new perspectives. Folks, if you'd like to learn more about this book, read some excerpts, order the book, Diana's website is dianahelmuth.com, DianaHelmuth.com. I recommend it. And if you enjoyed this episode of Paradigms, I hope you'll visit our website at paradigms.life, where you'll find all of our archived episodes going back to 2009. And there's places to leave comments. We'd love to see your comments about the episodes and the show itself. Paradigms.life. The word witchcraft, it brings up all kinds of reactions for people, from Halloween to Harry Potter to folks who genuinely fear because of their religious beliefs. But really, like any spiritual practice, it's all about how a person is relating with themselves, with the world. And when we hear a word we react to, it's good to learn more about it and find out if our reactions are based in reality or fears we've been taught. We humans, we're always trying to understand who and what we are and what we're doing here. So exploring different belief systems is a way of learning more about that. Who knows what you might discover if you learn about a belief system that's different from the ones you're used to. Maybe more of that would make the world a more peaceful place. So I'm going to leave you with music, as I always do. This one's called Triple Goddess Twilight. It's Laura Nero, one of the great artists of the 20th century. And the word for the week is awareness. Notice your awareness. What are you aware of? From your sensory awareness in the immediate moment, what do you hear, smell, see, feel, taste, to inner awareness of emotion, of thought, and of that which goes beyond emotion and thought, our connectedness with everything. So I invite you to practice awareness just by breathing and being aware in the moment. All right. Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. We'll be back next time with more inspiring people. Until then, be aware and be well.
I was a sweet baby in my mother's arms. We were strolling through the park. Picnic, peace walk, progress. Just a baby in her arms. My politics are based on her charms. Triple goddess twilight. Slow down, feel the land. Violet everywhere. I'll meet you there. Mother, you died young and left me your twilight colors, rosy, burgundy, coral mist. What are the shades of loneliness? Triple goddess twilight. Let's go, violet and pink. All roads lead to Venus. I'll meet you there in your dream of progress. My grandfather painted houses on a ladder in the sky. He was working class, urban, street wise. Said we could change the world, girl, love would inspire. Told me this through whiskey and revolutionary fire. Triple goddess twilight.
You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.